Cool World, by definition, is probably one of those games you had growing up, not because you personally wanted it, or picked it out because the box art intrigued you at Walmart or Blockbuster. No, it was just always there because your folks or older siblings decided to get it for whatever reason. And if you were to mention it to someone, in most cases, virtually no one would have a clue what the fuck you're talking about. Cool World is one of those games for me. And 27 years later, I still don't have a fucking clue on what the hell I'm supposed to do in this game. Based off the movie starring Brad Pitt, Kim Basinger, and Gabriel Byrne, Cool World is the story about a parallel universe based on the in-story comic of the same name, where normal humans can sometimes be transported into it by certain means. A much more adult and grittier take on the idea that Who Framed Roger Rabbit introduced, with regular humans interacting with toons, this universe calling them doodles. All things considered, it's not actually a bad idea. If done right, it could probably be an amazing take on the beloved classic that already got pretty dark at points. And while I have watched the movie and love its art style when it actually goes into Cool World, but as a story, it doesn't measure up to its more beloved classic counterpart. Not by a long shot. But just because it didn't work well for the big screen doesn't mean it couldn't work wonders as a video game. The world is creative and abstract enough to offer something really unique. Well, Cool World is the perfect example. Just because it's unique doesn't mean it's good. Because as I mentioned, Cool World is one of those games that I'm still trying to figure out 25 years later. The main problem is due to two things. First off, I feel the game doesn't actually know what it wants to be. If I can give this game anything, then I can respect how ambitious they wanted to make Cool World actually be. There's a good amount of platforming, puzzle solving, driving, even gets into point and click territory at points. The problem is it's one of those cryptic where the fuck do I go or what do I do type of games, and we all know how well those have aged over the years. Now, to be fair, it's not like you won't ever be able to figure some of the stuff out. It's not so cryptic that you'd feel like you could never figure it out even if you were given enough time. Well, except for a few exceptions. But it also doesn't help when this game kind of loops with its levels. It's weird. There's levels in this game, but they're all connected together. So if you can get far enough, you'll potentially end up back at the starting level. Then it's like, well, what the fuck do I do now? Mixed in with all the hidden areas that aren't as easily accessible due to the game not making it apparent that you can go into them doesn't help either. Like here! Did you know that this face is actually a door to an item shop that you can enter? No? Well, I don't blame you. I still don't know how me or my brothers ever figured that one out. In terms of platforming, it's pretty standard. Jack controls about as much as you'd expect him to. He can jump if he can get this item, he can use it to scale buildings or use it to attack enemies, or money before you can collect it. Yeah, even now that's bizarre 25 years later. Why the hell do you attack money first? Only thing is, he can't run and he has Belmont syndrome where knockback and jump control can fuck with ya. And while he can take a few hits, his health meter isn't made apparent, so it can feel like he can be killed at any point. Doesn't help that some attacks are insta-kills. As for driving, my fucking god, this is easily one of the worst driving segments I've ever played in any video game. The way they work is that Jack has to find the keys for it. Then after, he'll go on to a couple driving stages. At first, one would think that it's completely on rails and your goal is just to time your jumps and avoid obstacles. Well, if you're lucky it can be, but all too often you'll get stuck and squirm around just trying to get him moving again. And then when you finally do it, you'll be so focused on getting him to move forward that when he finally moves, it's too late and then you'll probably fall into a bottomless pit. It's hard to explain with just footage because it looks like I'm just being an idiot or just playing it up to exaggerate this, but no, that's how awkward and unresponsive this is. So mix this with the puzzle element and you're either gonna get stuck or die trying a lot trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do. Actually, a little side thing that I just figured out now, the driving sections actually stop for red lights. What the fuck? But you know what the kicker is? There's one more element about Cool World that I haven't brought up yet, and that is it loves its beginner traps. I understand this world is supposed to be a corrupt and lethal criminal-like place, so the developers were probably trying to capture that vibe. But that doesn't transition to good game design. All it does is turn players away after scratching their heads and just asking what the fuck just happened. And there are two examples of this that can happen right off the bat before you even make more than 15 steps. This asshole here, if you walk into him, he'll demand you pay some money or else he'll blow you up with dynamite. And if you're broke or say no, well, he does just that, costing you a life. Or what's even more common, you'll get jumped by the police and have to sit through this cutscene each time it happens. And you guessed it, results in the loss of a life. Even though you didn't die, even though you didn't even get fucking hurt. So we've got wonky controls at points, a very puzzle-focused platformer that can be very cryptic at points, with dick-headed beginner traps that make this game all the more frustrating to explore and get into, all the while trying to incorporate too many playstyles and mostly failing at all of them. Yeah, don't buy this game unless you get it for cheap and are just looking to add it to your collection, because Cool World is not a good game. In fact, it's actually ripe for an angry review due to all the crap it pulls. And it's such a shame that it has to be this way, because I love the idea of Cool World, the graphic novel, underground noir feeling it has. It could have been an amazing little game series, but it's unfortunately plagued by too many bad design choices. Honestly, it's a title that feels like it was made for the NES era due to all the bizarre bullshit game design choices that just so happens to be on the Super Nintendo instead. I might have nostalgia for Cool World, but it's definitely not because it's good or provided hours of entertainment. It's just the game I had access to as a kid, and I played it because, well, it was there, why not, right? But really, that's the only reason why I've ever played it. Avoid this game at all costs.